Heads up people, this is Kirsty from 52 Hider 3D with this year's Christmas tutorial. I haven't got around to doing a full Advent series this year, as I did last year, but to make up for it I've prepared this tutorial for Christmas. So I haven't actually made this scene yet, so I'm sort of making it up as I go along. I have however made the scene in real life and taken a photo of it, so we've got it here. Two baubles on a piece of wrapping paper like that, and you can see there the reflection of me taking a photo. So we're gonna make something along the lines of this scene, and hopefully that'll all work okay. I have some slight problems because my mouse is playing up and I haven't got another one, so hopefully that'll keep under control. So let's jump into Blender and have a look at what we need to do. Delete default cube and light. So we need to add a sort of a plane for the wrapping paper. So maybe make it that big, and we'll obviously want it to come up a bit. So if we subdivide it by how many cuts, probably go 10, and let's set the rotation type to active element and select all these, not that one, and make that one active. Rotate like so. Select these, make that one active. Okay, I didn't select all of them there. And try again. And then we can probably just grab this one. Like that. Better just turn screencast on actually. Oh, it's been turned off, hang on. User preferences. There you go. And you can see what I'm doing. So we've got that there. We might as well add in the material while we're at it, just a basic material. We won't do anything to it yet. So create a new material for this and call it and just choose an image texture. And I have created an image texture for this, which you will be able to download from Google Plus and Facebook. Which one is it? Hopefully it's this one. Hopefully Blender will be able to load in this. It's quite big. And let's just split this, UVs, and unwrap it. We need to open the image first. Like that. Scale it down a bit. And if we move this into rendered mode, that's pretty good to be going on with. So save this. And we can move on to the baubles. So let's move to a new layer just so we've got plenty of space, and I think I'll bring in the background image. So this will be the first one, I think. Yeah, just so we can see what we're doing. So let's add a UV sphere like that, and how many cuts and segments? 6. Let's go the full 3216. It's not going to be a very high poly scene. We don't really need to worry about too much geometry. So now we can select just this loop at the top and change the mode back to median point, scale it in a bit. Let's bring up this image here so we can see what we're doing, and extrude it up like so, and extrude and scale it out and back down, and then scale it out like that. And then, is there a way to... No, I think we're just going to have to do this randomly. Let's get every third vertex like this. I bet we're not going to meet up properly. I was right, we're not going to meet up properly. But don't worry, you can always just keep that side of the object hidden. Just move these up a bit, like that. Or actually, it might be better doing a vertex slide, like that. So it looks all nice like that. And then we could actually, if we create a loop cut there, we could delete all these faces because we don't actually need them, and then we can add in a triangle fan here, or it's probably quite hard to create a triangle fan, so we can just move it in a bit like so. And then what have we got here? We've got this little hanging loop here. So let's just fill in this with a face and add in cursor to selected. Add a what would be the best thing for doing that? I think a cube would be fine. And scale it right down, like so. Scale it like that. And we go like that, and then we can create a loop there, and it's my mouse playing up. Scale in like that. Maybe subdivide smooth. Maybe not actually. Create another loop cut there and just scale this one out. And then what we can do, I think, is we can create an inset from these two faces, like so, and delete both those faces, and then we should be able to use the new bridge to edge loops, if I can select it. Select those two loops and bridge edge loops. There we go. Probably a bit bigger hole. Shift X. There we go. And I suppose we could smooth it out a bit. Like so. So let's create a edge split modifier. I don't know if we really need one actually. Let's see what it looks like in smooth. Yeah, the normals look pretty screwed up. So just make normals consistent Yeah, I think we do want an edge split modifier, just to create a bit of sharpness in some places. Put the angle up a bit. There we go, angle to 70. Okay, so that's probably the modelling just about finished. There's not much that's particularly important on these. That's pretty much okay. They will have a sort of a mould line around the edge. If you want to model that, I suppose you could, but I don't think I can be bothered. Let's open this up so I can see what we're doing a bit more and bring back the other layer. You see our bauble is far too big, so let's scale it down 0.2, no, 0.5. Grab like that, apply rotation and scale. Let's see. Maybe the cap bit here could do with being a bit bigger. Let's select all of that and just it's better. Okay, so that's number one positioned. I think we can then get on with the material for this. So create a new material, call it gloss, and this should work pretty much straight away. But of course we haven't called it, we haven't given it a glossy shader yet. There we go. That's working pretty nicely. So let's pull up a new panel, and it's the node editor. So this is the current texture here. The current material. It's pretty much okay, but if you can see on the let's go back over to the image here. You can see the cap bit is a much more diffuse, much rougher gloss. So let's create a new material, call it hook or something, and also give this a glossy. Where are we? There. And we can apply this just to this area, and we can turn up the roughness to 0.5 to begin with. But now we can go in and add a mix shader in the middle of here. So we've got a glossy shader there, mix shader goes into material output, and we can also add a diffuse shader. Drops into there. Let's have a look in rendered mode. Is this going to crash my card? No, it's good. Let's turn, so that will be all glossy, I think. Turn down the roughness to 0.1. Yep, and so put the factor to 0.3. We can go back to the other gloss material and just put up the roughness slightly, 0.05 maybe, just to give it a bit of a bit of diffuseness, if that's a word. So we probably want to add some lighting, just so we can see what we're doing a bit more. So I'm just going to add some point lights. I'm going to be very lazy about this. Let's try rendering that. And have a look there. That's all cool. The point light is probably not best to go for actually. I think it might be better to go for a mesh light. So add a new plane and add new material to that and give it an emission texture, emission shader, sorry, and render that again. And that just gives it a little more realism. We do want to, in the thing we had 2 baubles, so we might as well add that one. But first, let's get the camera in the right position. And we can do a bit of flying to get it into the right position. Let's change to give it a bit more focal length. And let's is it Alt D? Yes, we can move that to there. Alt D to duplicate linked, so we don't get any. If we make changes to one, they automatically get made to the other. So put the camera about there. Is that okay? Let's give this a render, see what it looks like. It's looking cool. There's not nearly enough light yet, but we can go back to the emission plane there. We can turn up the emission to 10. We could also give it another light right over here. Render that. Yeah, it's looking better. Maybe the front bauble wants to come a bit closer to the camera, like that. Yeah, that's looking nicer. And maybe we could turn this lamp down a bit, so duplicate the or make the material separate and turn the strength down to 2.5. Just to that's quite nice, gives you a nice shadow effect underneath. The obvious problem we've got is that when you render it, most of the reflection shows up grey. I suppose we could do something about that, but I'm not quite sure how you go about doing it. We could just leave it like that for now. We could, or we could create a sky dome or something. Just leave it like that for now, and start on with focal length. As you can see here, that one's much more out of focus than this one. In cycles, of course, now you can use depth of field. Let's choose the actual camera I used, which is a Canon 600D, and then maybe we can zoom out a bit here. And then choose focus. We want this one, what do we call it? Sphere. So choose sphere. And we want an f-stop, and I probably want it about 3.5. And let's give that a render and see what it looks like. And it doesn't appear to have done anything. It's interesting. Should have done. Let's give it a proper render, not just a preview render, and see what it comes up with then. Okay, it's not out of focus enough really, so let's try lower number 1.8. Getting very little defocus. I don't know if I'm getting any defocus at all. Doesn't look like it's defocusing. Let's change the slot to slot 2 and re-render with set to 0. Now obviously it can't do anything like that. Okay, we are getting some defocus, just not very much. Let's change the to 0.7. Maybe we could do with bringing the first bauble closer to the camera again. And now we're getting more of an effect. I don't think the reflections are quite sharp enough. So let's bring this down to 0.01. We're certainly seeing the defocus a bit more now. But I think we need to add a slight bit of diffuse to this, so let's go to shader and add a mix shader, and add a diffuse shader, and put it down to 0.01. If we render it in viewport, then we can see live what's going on. Yeah, that's alright. And if we do a unwrap, a UV unwrap on this, smart UV, I think, we could add a normal map to this, just to give it a slight amount of texture. So you give it a noise texture, and go input texture coordinates, drag in the UV into there, and add a vector bump. Here we go. And just drag the normal into there, and the factor into the height, and re-render that. It's not really enough. It's obviously not zoomed in enough. Is that the right word? The mapping is off, so... Oh, my mouse is awful. A... Mapping, there we go. If anybody who can recommend some good mice to me, I'd be very grateful. Let's go 25. We need scales. We've got a bit more bump on there. I think 25 might be a bit much, so go 10. And we need to seriously turn the strength down, so strength 0.1. Let's give this full render. It needs to also be on the glossy for it to work properly, really. Come on! Goodness sake. I'm actually going to use my touchpad button. That work better. Yes, that's quite good, but the strength is too high, so 0.05. That's good. And let's turn down the amount of diffuse. There we go. And what else could we do? I think we let's turn down that bump a bit more. Strength 0.1. No, I need it to be 0.01. My mouse is not working again. Come on. 0.01. Cool. So I think that does it for about it for the baubles. Let's add in some sort of sky dome. Let's see if I've just got a picture on my camera of a room, which I know I do. It's on here somewhere. That's right. And just want something. Yeah, let's bring this one in. Let's copy that in. Bring it into. There we go. And then I think I have import images as planes enabled. Yep, see we have that. It's an add-on if you want to grab it. Here we are. We've got this image, and it should have. Well, we've got this plane, and it should have the image on it. So go to material, so we can see it. There we go. And rotate 90, rotate 180, and we've got it here, and we can scale it up, and then this will reflect in the baubles there, you can see, but obviously it's not everywhere yet, so if that makes sense. So we should go to edit mode and do a couple of cuts on it. I wonder if Alt-Shift-S would work for this. Kind of, but not quite, so let's not bother with that. And turn on proportional editing, and we can move these around the sides. So it just looks like there's something there. Still not big enough though. So let's move it a bit closer in. And let's add a few more cuts in here. 4 cuts. Grab this and move that over here. Like that. Come on, there you go. And let's turn off its visibility, this thing, so it doesn't quite get in the way. So we can just turn it onto a wireframe so you can see it like that. Let's get into camera view and let's see if this works. And it doesn't work at all. Are we behind the camera now? Ah yes, so if we turn off the skybox has got in front of the camera, so the camera's looking at it, but if you turn off the under ray visibility, you can turn off camera, which means the camera won't see it. There we go. And I think that's pretty much it. We're doing quite well on this one. Yeah. So you might want to do a bit more compositing or something along that line if you wanted to. But I think that's pretty much done. Let's have a look. What else could we do? No, I think that's it. Pretty well complete. So yeah. So thanks for watching this tutorial. I'll post the finished image on Facebook and Google+. And also in the new year we'll be going online on Twitter, so keep your eye out for that. So thanks for watching, goodbye and happy Christmas.